The Powerball jackpot is up to $1.5 billion. And if you don't already know, it's this close to breaking the world record of $1.586 billion. In general, when the grand prize gets to be a really big amount, people kind of go nuts over these things. And this media attention is no different. People are rushing to get their Powerball tickets before the next drawing, and they are dreaming about all the things that they could buy with the money. The thing is, though, lottery winners are absolutely notorious for burning through the cash that they win. And you might think it's crazy that somebody could burn through $1.5 billion, but I'm willing to bet you that they can do it. So in the slim chance that you do win $1.5 billion in this next Powerball drawing, it's important to plan ahead. Planning will really stop it so you don't end up declaring bankruptcy down the line, which is easy to do if you've never handled a substantial amount of money before. So here are 7 steps that I would personally take myself to ensure that I stay rich instead of throwing it all away. Number 1, I would take the cash option. I always hear on the radio, the TV, or even in blog posts, oh no, you should really take the annuity option, because there are 2 options. There's the annuity option and the cash option. The annuity option, if you don't know what that means, it means you're just going to get yearly payments over the course of 30 years until the total you've received, it equals to $1.5 billion. But if you take the cash option, you get almost half as much as the $1.5 billion. So at face value, it seems like the smarter option would be to take the annuity. But if you have a good amount of self-discipline and patience, I'm here to tell you that the lump sum is better. Collecting the lump sum would allow you to make wise investment decisions that will continue to generate money for you over and over and over again, year after year. If you do it right, you may be making well over $1.5 billion. Number 2, before you make any investments or spend any money in any way, shape, or form, after you take the cash option, you need to pay your taxes. This is a really important part, and honestly, this is a part that gets a lot of people in trouble because they really aren't prepared for just how much taxes take away from their winnings. The first thing to know is, and I'm sure you're familiar with your federal income tax, you have to pay to the federal government. Now, many states in the United States also have a state income tax. There are several states, I think there's only 7 or 8, I can't remember exactly which number, but it's like 7 or 8 states that do not have a state income tax. State income taxes, you actually have to pay on top of the federal income tax that you're already paying. So winning a lump sum as large as this is probably going to put you squarely in the middle of the top tax bracket. So for federal income taxes, you'd probably be paying about 37%. That's the top federal income tax bracket currently as I'm making this video. And if you're in a state that doesn't have state income taxes and only pays federal income taxes, then that's all you have to pay. But if you're in a state that pays state income taxes, you're going to pay even more on top of that. And you're probably going to be in the highest tax bracket in your state as well. Depending on which state you're in, this could put your overall tax liability at 50% or above. I know, it's a lot. In certain states, literally half of your earnings are going straight to the government. And I actually break this down a little bit. It's not super thorough, but it's enough that maybe you can see my calculations in my blog post on my website at www.ohheyitsray.com. And the link is going to be in the description below. And now that I've scared you, you should know that even though you might be getting taxed 50%, depending on where you live, of course, it's still okay. Because if you do it right and you play your cards right, you will continue to grow your money year after year. Step 3 is more about those wise investments that I was talking about earlier. And in this case, what I would do is to buy bonds. Usually what you see happening when somebody wins the lottery or a major jackpot is the first thing they do is they go out and they buy luxury houses and luxury cars and all the material goods that they can think of. And quite frankly, that's really dumb. Don't do it. If you keep spending, then you will run out of money. Even if it's an absurd amount of money that you couldn't really ever fathomed before, like $1.5 billion, you will run out if you spend. That's just plain fact. So don't do it. Instead, you should be investing in lower risk assets like bonds that will generate you more income over time, increasing your overall net worth. Bonds are honestly what I would be investing in if I were to find myself in this exact situation. There are many different types of bonds, and I'm not going to get into all of them today, but there is a link in my article at my website, so you can go check it out, that goes over the different types of bonds and which ones are less riskier than others, and also how they're rated, because there are different ratings. For example, you might have a AAA municipal bond, or you might have like corporate bonds. There's junk bonds. There's agency bonds. So there's, and you know what? I'm not even going through them all. There's a lot more. So it's really something to look into. And quick little side note here, if you already kind of understand bonds and you're curious about what the current rates are, you might want to just go to Vanguard's website and check out their bonds on the personal investment section of their website. So I know that bonds are not something that usually gets talked about as much. I know that you usually hear about stocks or real estate. I love real estate myself. And stocks, they just, for some reason, get all the attention. But bonds deserve credit sometimes where credit is due. And this is a particular time that I consider them a good investment. So it's worth doing your due diligence and really understanding what you're getting into before you make any decisions though. Once you've purchased your bonds, you'll start receiving interest payments until the bond has matured. Once the bond matures, you'll get your principal back. The principal is the first amount of money that you invested. Interest is what you get paid by the company, government person, whoever is borrowed the money from you and issued the bond to you. Interest payments are usually dispersed every 6 months. That's really important because you don't get paid weekly or bi-weekly like you would in a regular job. You only get paid once every 6 months. And that's usually. So there are some bonds out there that might have different terms. So it's really important to make sure you understand what you're getting when you're looking in the bond market. So because you only get paid 6 months, number 5 is going to be live on a budget. Shocker, right? Who would have thought that somebody that was really rich would have to live on a budget? But I promise you, no matter if you're making $3,000 a month or $163,000 a month, you need to stay on a budget. You have to track what you're spending, and you need to make sure that you're not spending more than what you're earning. If you can responsibly budget, I don't see how bankruptcy could ever be in your future. Number 6 is to reinvest. Now, I know that you've already invested just about all of your lottery winnings, but it's important to realize that when you have a solid budget that you're following, there are usually categories in it. So you might have a category for bills that you want to put money towards, and you have a category for savings, and you might have a fun money section or leisure. You might have a giving for donations, which you can do because you get a little bit of a tax write-off for that. And you might want to have an investment section. This first initial investment that you have to create your income shouldn't be your last, because if you want to increase your paychecks over time, because you're not getting work paychecks, but you are getting income every 6 months from your investments. If you want those paychecks to increase, then you need to keep reinvesting money so that you can generate more income. And it's important to do that, especially if you're thinking over decades. If you're going to need to keep up with inflation, then you need to keep generating more and more income. It's just how it is. Now, even though I put my initial winnings in bonds, I think that while I'm reinvesting, I could put more money in different types of bonds. Or since I have a little bit more flexibility now, I can expand my portfolio and I can invest in stocks or real estate or anything else. Stocks and real estate really get the most attention. They're the ones that people are most familiar with, but you could start investing in businesses. You could open a franchise. You could own a pizza parlor. You could own a circus. You could own a daycare. The sky's the limits. There are other more like oddball things too. You could start investing in high-end collectible art, or you could invest in music royalties, or you could invest in NFTs if that's your thing. But whatever you do, make sure you weigh the risk versus the rewards and make sure that you're only investing in things that you understand. And number 7, this is the final one. It's just to live happy. I know that sounds corny, but if you've just followed the plan and it's working and it's just set to go, then you keep doing it over and over again. And that alone will allow you to have financial freedom and security. And as cliche as that sounds, I mean, I can only imagine, not having to get up and work every day, or at least not in a traditional sense, not having a boss yell at me, or not worried that I'm going to get fired every minute of every day, not worrying about if you have enough money for groceries, or if you can go on a trip, or if you are able to take a little bit of time off work so that you can pursue your real passions instead of having to work paying the bills. This is really what the big prize of winning the Powerball is to me, is that freedom to control your own schedule and the freedom to make your own decisions and pursue your own interests without feeling forced by some third party or boss or whatever. It takes all the stress away. So money can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy less stress, which contributes to happiness. And if that's what you win, then I at least would want to protect that at all costs. I would do everything that I can, and that means that I would follow a budget and I would stick to the plan. So if you are lucky enough to win the $1.5 billion jackpot, I really do hope that you plan ahead and that you are able to buy that security for yourself and that freedom, because I think that's really the best thing. Why don't you guys tell me, what would you do if you won the 1.5 billion? What would your strategy be? Would it be a little bit different than mine, or would you just do something else? Go ahead and leave your answers in the comments below. And if you liked what you've heard so far today, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. I really like to talk about personal finance and real estate and business, and I hope to share more of my videos with you. Well, that's about all I have for you guys today. As usual, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you next time.